Started some clouds, kind of showed you. It's about where I left it yesterday. Started with my sky, kind of thought about my blues I was going to have. What would help my sky look more like what I've already got going on? What would help it look more like the photo?
Maybe a darker blue.
A darker blue, maybe give it a little bit of that kind of purpley color. A little bit of that kind of, just a little bit darker. I'm going to add a little bit more of this kind of in my sky, just to add some variety in there too. Because I love kind of making different values and different colors in my sky. Remember with clouds yesterday, I told you could kind of put a little bit of color up to the edge of your cloud, and it would make it feel kind of soft, and it wouldn't create that kind of hard edge. Because clouds aren't really oval. They're not just white. They're not poofy. They're kind of more kind of misty is kind of what I think of them as. And if you lose it, just give them a little bit more white. So these were the colors I added in my cloud yesterday. I started with white, laid that down first, went in with a little bit of yellow, added a little bit of this purple because it was a little warmer, because my clouds felt kind of warm, yellow and purple. And then I just went in again with my white. So it's all about layering. That's why I had my little scrap over here so I could play with it. And I think this cloud ended up being a lot more beautiful than this one. And it's okay to leave a little bit of color if you see it. Like, see my little bit of purple? I think that's kind of pretty. And it doesn't really feel like made up. It just kind of feels a little more expressive. It feels a little more like Impressionism, seeing different colors and seeing kind of those, just kind of variety in color. Can I borrow your chalk pastels, please? I had all my sky colors and I didn't have my mountain colors ready. Thank you. All right, so we're kind of pretending like I've got my sky done and we're moving forward into the midground, okay? I'm gonna move into my mountains because that's kind of what I see, kind of this part back here, and it's behind the trees. If y'all look at my mountains, what kind of colors do I need for my mountains?
Yellowish green.
Kind of yellowish green. I'm kind of looking at this one in particular. Do y'all see that dark color, what it is?
Like a purple.
It's like a purple, right? That's like Purple Mountain Majesty. Y'all know that song? It's where they got that idea from. So I'm gonna go light to dark, and I'm gonna borrow my blues pastels. Maybe a light green. That felt oily. Maybe a dark green. That'll probably get me pretty good right now. So I'm gonna start out using that edge of my chalk for something that's really rough and kind of scratchy like a mountain. That's what seems to be a little bit more helpful. And something that will help y'all, I've noticed a lot of folks in here are using so much pastel. You're using like tons of chalk. And you know what happens when you use too much chalk?
It gets like brown.
It gets messy, it gets everywhere. And then you kind of can't move it and you kind of can't keep texture. So with my mountains, I want to make kind of like a rough texture to start out with. So what I'm doing is kind of just tapping it and moving it. Some of y'all have probably done this with a paintbrush, like scumbling. That's kind of what it's called. Ooh, yellow's getting in my blue, making green. Alrighty. And I see a little bit over here in these mountains too. Now I know it's okay to use this yellow that I see because I have so much purple in there and I need some brown, and it's gonna make that kind of brown that I need. I'm also gonna have trees in front, and it's okay if a little bit of yellow gets in my trees, right? I'm having to think and slow down. And for y'all who seem to like make careless mistakes, do y'all ever kind of do something and you're like, oh God, I wasn't even paying attention. I wish I hadn't done that. That's like my life. So I always have to think one step ahead and go, ooh, okay. Green, okay, that goes well with yellow. Okay, I can do that. Alrighty. So I've got my yellow in there. I'm gonna use a little bit of this purple because I think it would look nice. This is a little Bob Ross technique. Y'all ever watch Bob Ross? You ever seen how he takes that palette knife and he scrapes the mountain and he makes a highlight? This is kind of like a little Bob Ross technique right here. So I take my chalk, kind of pull it down like that, and that starts to make some shadows and it starts to make some really pretty texture. And I'm not caking on. It's not like I'm like caking on that pastel. I'm just trying to start to kind of add in some values. And I showed this to Carter yesterday, how we just kind of put it down and we pat it. You don't smear it all away because that takes away all the work we just did. It's a little darker up here, so I'm going to add more. Add a little bit more. I get a little bit darker where I need some more value. I kind of drag it. And that's kind of how I start to do it. And I know that it's not going to be just yellow and purple. There's going to be a little bit more going on. But the last thing you really want to try to help make your landscape feel realistic is like a dark line, outlining everything. And kind of keeping it smooth, smooth, smooth. We don't have to smooth our chalk pastel to death. Sometimes it's nice to kind of leave some texture and leave it rough for a little bit. And I'm just following my picture. I'm trying not to make anything up. I'm really looking at what I'm seeing. Leaving some shadows, leaving some values. I'm working a lot more quickly than I want to because I'm trying to be quick for y'all. But sometimes it's kind of nice. You remember the Impressionists, it was all like, it just happened in a second, right? It was like a really fleeting moment, kind of like when you're driving in a car, you look out the window and you see something really fast, it's kind of blurry. That's kind of what Impressionism is. It's just kind of the little moment that you see. All right, I've got purple and yellow. I think I need a little bit of green for my grass. And remember what I said yesterday? It's okay if the whole day all you get done is some mountains, because it means you've worked on them. I have never smeared really hard with my finger yet. And I'm still on this little curve of the mountain right here. Over here it's really blue. I don't see quite as much. I see like a tiny bit of green. I can put back in here. Okay. I love how it's kind of bumpy and not really perfect. What else have we got here? Ooh, maybe that. Peachy color, that might help too. Might kind of lighten some things up because I need it a little bit. So I just kind of play with it. You know, if you see some negative space, how can you add that negative space in there? How can you add that highlight? If you use some of that pastel to kind of clean it up and fix it, that will really help too. But it's like when we were doing charcoal and we talked about value touching value. Like I have a color next to a color. How does it interact with the color below it? I've got more of that yellow that's supposed to be up in here. And I can tone a yellow down with some of this peach. It kind of neutralizes it and lightens it up some. It kind of takes the lemon out of it. But you can see there I've kind of started. I've kept my texture of my mountain. It's not all super smooth. It's not hilly. It's rough. It's textured. What I would kind of continue to do is get some deep dark blue. And since I use green here, I know it'll be kind of really pretty strong blue. Ooh, that's too turquoise. Let's try that one. There we go. Just knowing your colors, knowing what you need. Feel a little like Bob Ross right now. Channeling him. All I need is an afro. A lot of colors going on.
You should be Bob Ross for Halloween.
I should be, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should wear like an afro wig to school.
That'd be funny. Carry a little squirrel in my pocket. He always had his pet squirrel. So then once you start building all that, you can start with some of that detail. And then that's when you can use some really pretty dark values and get more detailed. And that's when you can start using that tip of that pastel. Because if you start out using it, it's all going to be the same value. So what I do is I just kind of lay it in there and I lightly tap it. And then it saves it, but it doesn't rub it to death. It doesn't kind of get rid of it. Because you want some of those really beautiful values. You want to keep some of those in there. So at this point, I've used so many colors, like blue, yellow, purple, green. I've used a ton, but I don't think it's really feeling like a mess. It's feeling like a lot of colors at one time. It's feeling like a lot of values at one time. What I would kind of continue to do a little bit is probably kind of figure out how to clean it up, how to smooth it, but not get rid of some things. When I want to kind of fix my mountains to look pretty accurate and what they need to look like, I could come in with my blue and kind of clean that up some and use the edge of a chalk, find a clean finger, to clean that up some. But it's all about how to keep your edges clean. And like I said yesterday, when you have something you like with chalk, don't mess with it anymore. Just leave it be for a little bit. Hopefully I'm keeping Kevin's clean when I do that. So that would just be my next step. So think about what your basic color is. Like for my mountains, I saw that it had a lot of yellow in it, so that's what I started with. And I go light to dark. That's kind of my local color. Then I go in with the purple because it's opposite, and I know it will tone down the yellow. Then I go in with some green, and then I go in with some peach to kind of put it all together. So just kind of pick out like what colors do I see. I know I need that. I know I need this, and like that. So those are my mountain colors. And to me, that really helps me not get all overwhelmed by that area. Okay, y'all have any questions about that? Moving forward. And if you've got like fall leaves, if you've got like trees, water, whatever it may be in here, I can help you with that too. But it's kind of the same thing. There's multiple colors in there, okay? Good. So we've got